San Francisco.
You're listening to Pod at the Palace with Curtis Wilkerson on Inside Arkansas.
All right, welcome in everybody to the Pod at the Palace post-game live reaction show. Whew, buddy. Heartbreaker, frustrating, pound your head off the wall, whatever you want to call it. That was not a fun way to end a basketball game. Arkansas loses 65-62 to Oklahoma. Porter Moser just has the Razorbacks number, came into Bud Walton Arena and beat them. And there's so many parts of this game that I'm sure we're going to get to. But just overall thoughts, Andrew, on what we just witnessed here in a game that looked like Arkansas was getting it under control until it wasn't under control, and Oklahoma steals one from the Razorbacks in Fayetteville.
Well, my thoughts reflect the text message that you sent me about 20 minutes ago where you said, I think Arkansas is just a better team than Oklahoma, and you are going to be crashing out if they lose. And I agreed with that sentiment. Right after you texted that, Arkansas built up a 6-point lead and then immediately gave up that 6-point lead by fouling a 3-point shooter on back-to-back possessions, which anytime you do something like that, obviously there was a lot of game after that, but when you start doing stuff like that down the stretch, you kind of feel like, okay, you're playing with fire. And whereas the Georgia game, this is actually a very similar game to the Georgia game in terms of final score, but there's a lot of differences because that Georgia game had 50 foul calls. This one had less than that. There were more made shots in this game, but it was down the stretch, you got the feeling that everything was going Arkansas's way in the Georgia game, whether it be ref calls, whether it be loose balls, whether it be just kind of luck of the draw. And down the stretch, it just didn't have that feel for Arkansas. And look, we'll get into all of it. It's not like this was just a completely horrible showing from the Razorbacks. You know, they showed some resilience. They fought back, ended up taking the lead, but they just didn't do enough. They didn't do enough to beat a bad Oklahoma team at home. And that there's not much more you can say about it. You know, like that's really tough. And look, there's plenty of stuff you can point to and be frustrated at, and we're going to do that. We're going to talk about all the individual pieces. And I feel like if you play this game 10 times, Arkansas probably wins it at least 6 or 7 times. And so, I mean, I don't know if that's any solace for Razorback fans, but you just can't lose games like this if you want to be taken seriously, if you want to play deep into March, if you want to play in the NCAA tournament. You just got to win games like this. You just have to. Arkansas was able to find a way to do it against Georgia, who, by the way, got beat by 30 tonight. But they couldn't do it against an Oklahoma team who's not very good.
Yeah, we'll see if Oklahoma is able to get into the NCAA tournament or not. But Arkansas's hopes of doing that ended tonight. You know, like we're in miracle territory now. So this was a must win for Arkansas, and they weren't able to get it done. In a lot of ways, the recipe is exactly what it's going to have to be at this point for this team to just win games, period. And it's a game by game basis now, but they've got to muddy it up, man. They got to drag teams out in deep waters. They got to grind it out. They're going to have to win games in the 60s. And they're going to lose some games in the 60s. But yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. It felt like Arkansas was getting control of this game. Back-to-back threes. Who was it? Was it Carter Knox and then Z, or was it somebody else and then Z? No, it wasn't Knox. Maybe it was Nelly. I don't know. Oh, it was Thero. Thero and Z hit back-to-back threes, and it's 50-44 there. Got the timeout, had the momentum. Bud Walton Arena is absolutely rocking. And then I'm looking at the stat broadcast as we're watching the game, and it's like Oklahoma has gone without a field goal for over 5 minutes. And I'm thinking, shit, this is what Arkansas does every night. But then all of a sudden the game is tied. And like you mentioned, back-to-back fouling 3-point shooters. I think Z was the culprit on one, and John L. Davis on the other one, on Jeremiah Fears, who was like 30 feet out. Now, he's an NBA player, so I guess he's taking NBA shots. But those are killers. And then you get a bucket, you get the lead back, and then you give it up again with a goaltend. So it's like 8 consecutive points that they scored there without technically making a shot from the field. Man, that's just a killer there down the stretch for Arkansas. You know, I guess the last few minutes of that game, I felt like they ran out of gas. I know a lot of people were getting pissed about, like effort. They're not getting 50-50 balls and why are they fouling? It's stupid. All those things are true. I felt like they didn't have any legs left, and that's not an excuse. That's just kind of where they were. Oklahoma coming off the bye looked a little bit fresher down the stretch than the team that recruited only 9 players and then only had 8 to play at the end of that game after a dogfight on Wednesday. Looked like they ran out of gas, and that's on them.
A lot of times people get upset when we say things because they take it to mean something else. They take when you list out something that happened objectively and they'll be like, oh, that's an excuse. It's like, no. Or if you say, hey, Oklahoma's a bad basketball team and they're like, well, they beat you. It's like, well, that doesn't
You're a
make
bad basketball team.
a bad basketball team untrue. It's still a bad basketball team. But I agree. I mean, it's kind of what you get when you have one of your main big guys pretty much is not able to give you anything in Jonas Adu, which wound up being a big deal in this game where Arkansas gets beat on the glass by 6 or 7, which in a game that was pretty much decided by 1 point. They had the bucket there later, but pretty much came down to, literally came down to the final possession. You can't really have that. And when you have your star player out for injury, you have a short roster to begin with. We've kind of said this all season. Arkansas can't really afford to have stuff like that happen. In this game, I felt like Adu's failure to show up really cost Arkansas in a lot of ways, but I think the fatigue certainly played a role. I mean, you had Big Z going out with the shoulder injury, and when he was really upset about that shoulder, and then he ends up going back in there a minute later. But yeah, I definitely think Arkansas ran out of gas, and you could just kind of feel it. Like in the Georgia game, you kind of felt like that team was not going to be denied no matter what. They were going to find a way. That desperation was still there. And it wasn't necessarily there in that game. And I don't really think it's kind of to be expected once you get the one win out of the way, you're a little bit less desperate. But really, ultimately, I just think Arkansas wasn't good enough to win this game. You look at the numbers, and again, I said this after the LSU game where the numbers were pretty comparable for Arkansas and LSU. You look at this game, and it's a lot of numbers that are pretty comparable. Like there's not a ton of separation between these two ball clubs here. And ultimately, Arkansas just wasn't on the right side of it. And I honestly just go back to that first half stretch. And I think I texted you this where Oklahoma hits. I think they hit like 6 of their first. I think they were 6 of 11 at one point. It's actually crazy when I look at the numbers that both teams ended up at 33%. Arkansas actually took more threes. They were 9 of 27. Oklahoma 7 of 21. Because in the first half, Arkansas had the 2 quick threes from Carter Knox, but then went a long stretch without having any outside shooting. I felt like at the end of the first half, whenever I believe it was Nelly hits a 3, Z hits a 3. I think Wagner also had one at the end of the shot clock there. I felt like that kind of opened things up, and you felt like Arkansas had some momentum, and maybe they could build on that a little bit, and they did to an extent, and that's what kind of gave them the lead. But it just ultimately wasn't enough in the end. They didn't build themselves enough cushion, and there's gonna be no shortage of plays this team can look back on and be like, damn, that's one we wish we had back. That stupid pass, that stupid foul, that stupid turnover. Like there's just so many in this game, and this is gonna be one that haunts Arkansas for the rest of the year.
Yeah, for sure, man. It was there's something that feels definitive about the outcome of this season now after that one. These are just the wins you have to secure to just stay around the conversation. And on top of that, you certainly could have used some momentum going into this bye week before what's a week from hell. Now they go to Kentucky, to Texas, and then come home and they get Alabama. That's just a brutal stretch. So really a tough one here for Arkansas. We're going to talk about the officiating too. Actually, let's talk about that now, and then we'll talk about the final stretch of the game. The officiating was not good in this game. And that's not an excuse. It's not like that's the only reason why Arkansas lost or whatever. But that was kind of a clown show. There was a lot of stuff there that was irritating, especially in the first half when in the beginning, I was kind of okay with it for the first 10 minutes or so of the game. Then they had that stretch where they just completely took over, killed the flow of the game. Crazy offensive foul called on Jonas Adu. Nelly gets popped, nothing there. Then they're calling the ticky-tack shit. Review this, review that. Let's review before the halftime buzzer to see if Trevin fouled the kid with 0.1 seconds left on the clock. It was just one thing after another, man. That was frustrating. And it seemed like they had a vendetta, like they really wanted to leave their mark on the game by the way they were treating Arkansas's bench. Like one ref kept running up in the huddle. Yeah. And it's like you get a courtesy whistle at the end of a timeout, right? But they weren't getting that. And they were running up in the huddle, busting it up. Arkansas's, bench is standing up, and they're constantly just telling them to sit down, blowing the whistle to make sure they sit down. No joy over there. And I'm seeing Oklahoma go crazy on the other end of the floor. At one point, Arkansas had assistant coaches up yelling instructions to the players, and the ref stops it. And he's like, no, you guys sit down. And it's just like, why are you making this about you? And it just goes to me back to the broader conversation about the officiating in the SEC sucks overall. And it's not just us saying it. It's not just at Arkansas. It's across the board, man. And it's becoming a national story. And when that's the case, that's an issue.
Yeah. I mean, refereeing in college basketball, I feel like in general, it's been bad for a while. And look, I'm fully on board. Like there were definitely, I mean, we could sit here and cut down the clips of like which calls went against Arkansas, were they BS? Hell, I feel like the call at the end of the game on Nelly Davis, the no call, I guess I should call it. I thought Arkansas had a good gripe there, but I also think there's something to be said about you kind of just create your own luck. Luck is just when proper preparation meets opportunity and all that. And
Yeah.
I felt like Oklahoma was kind of in position and put themselves in position a lot of times to get some of those calls with, with their relentless attack of the basket. And so I guess, there's cases to be made if we dismissed the Georgia game so clearly as like a ref situation there, but there's no doubt about it. The officiating was certainly bad. The argument to be had is, did it really cost Arkansas the game and did it really favor Oklahoma? I still think there's a good argument you can make there, but ultimately, man, like Arkansas just had so many missed opportunities. And once again, Curtis, we can do the game where we say, man, if Arkansas just made maybe a third of the wide open looks that they missed, like there were once again, it's not like Arkansas didn't have any flow offensively. It's not like they weren't getting good looks. I actually, for the most part, thought Arkansas got great looks for a good portion of the night. And again, DJ Wagner and Nelly were a little bit better in this game with their efficiency, but still not great. Combined 10 of 28 in this game. And it's just hard to win that way, man. And Arkansas they're starting to do some little things right. They're defending a lot better. They're taking good care of the basketball. There seems to be a little bit more cohesion, but ultimately it's really hard to overcome just not being able to make shots for long stretches at a time. They had little spurts here and there. And really, I think the last couple of games, what I've figured out is just how valuable Z is offensively for this ball club. Like, we can talk about Adu and, his failure to show up there, but I thought Big Z like really was huge, and he just changes the way teams defend Arkansas, but ultimately it wasn't enough. And it's really hard to lose a game in the 60s at home and then really be complaining about anything. It's like, I mean, it was just one that was served up on a platter for you. We always kind of felt like Arkansas, this wasn't going to be a stretch where Arkansas turned their season around. But if you just win these 2 games, you can figure out the rest later. I don't know where this team goes from here necessarily, but they got a week to figure it out.
Yeah, that's pretty much true. Where they go is probably the NIT. I think it's kind of what we're looking at. But yeah, frustrating stuff there. Let's talk about the stretch run of this game. Arkansas they're down 1, a little over a minute left. They've got possession, and they get nothing out of it. And it looked like they were trying to get Z involved in the ball screen action, the pick and pop stuff. That was their offense for a majority of the second half. That's what they try to do on that possession, but then he shot fakes the 3 and then doesn't take the second one and then has no awareness of the shot clock, and he kicks it out to Nelly with like a second and a half left. So you get just an off balance 35-footer. So you get nothing out of that, which is a frustrating deal. But then you get the moving screen call against Oklahoma. And that's when, Cal had the opportunity to let the chalk talk there. Looked like they were trying to get a post up for Z. I don't know what they were going to do after that, but that got busted up. They were just bumping cutters in there. There's like 8 guys in the middle of the lane. Good idea to call a timeout, reset it there with 12.6 left. I would have just assumed do the same damn thing you did against Georgia, which is try to get DJ going downhill because he's your guard who can probably get downhill and have everybody crash in the glass or whatever. See if you can get a call. Instead, they inbound to Z. You get Nelly on the backdoor cut, which we can talk about the fouls or whatever. He was being held on the backdoor cut. That's where the whistle should have been. He catches it under the goal. There's not a whole hell of a lot of time for him to figure anything out there. He tried to go up, get the contact. I didn't think he got it. Felt like Oklahoma's guy was vertical there and that Nelly might have initiated it. So I'm not too terribly mad about the no call there. I'm more pissed off about him getting held on the back cut. But then you turn it over, they go in there and dunk it on your head, and that's that.
Wasn't much of a real shot attempt, to your point. Like once he caught the ball, he was under the rim. I think that's really what led to the no call. And to be fair, like and I don't really want to be that fair. I think there's a lot of people who complain when there are whistles in the final 10 seconds or whatever where they don't let the refs decide it. But on the commentary, I don't know who the hell these guys were that were calling the game. Didn't do a horrible job, but I have no idea. I could not name those guys if you put a gun to my head. But they were even saying coming out of the timeout, you probably got to get one of your guards going towards the basket, see if you can draw a foul. It's been a foul fest in the second half. I was a little surprised DJ Wagner, and that was the guy they mentioned. I was a little surprised DJ Wagner, who, again, it's not like DJ's just amazing and has been crushing it as the point guard for Arkansas, but I feel like he gives Arkansas some semblance of stability and capability back there as a floor general. I kind of agree that probably would have been the move. That's what they did last game in this very situation, and it just led to an Adu Thero rebound and trash bucket there. So maybe that was the move, but I also can't really hate them going to Z there and kind of getting some action involved with him, because he's a guy that, by the way, we mentioned the other day on the show. We had this exact conversation. Who should Arkansas go to when the game's on the line? And I was kind of like, I don't know, Z might be a good option. They were doing a lot of good stuff with him. That Davis 3 that they hit a minute before was kind of a very similar action there. Just got the backdoor cut on this one. So really, I'm not going to like nitpick too much and be like, what a bad call what a bad play. Like, I kind of was okay with how it was drawn up. I was kind of okay with the decision making. It just didn't work out. And that's kind of the story of the game.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. Okay, well, let's look at a couple things in the box score here, and we can react to that, and then we'll get into the chat, because I know
we better get into the chat, Curtis, because we had one guy come in here, and I saw his comment pop up. He said, "Do y'all even respond to comments?" And then 1 minute later, he said, "Nope, unfollow."
Well, unfollow then, asshole. Like, welcome to the show, bro. I mean, we've done the same thing every game. We talk about it for a minute, and then we spend 40 minutes responding to comments. Unfollow your ass off, man. We don't want you here. Bye. See ya. God dang, boy. Shit pisses me off, man. It really does. Goodness gracious.
I thought that was weird. He gave us 1 minute. We didn't pony up, so he hit the road.
Unreal. Yeah, darn. Couple things that stood out to me. Arkansas got down 13 there in the first half. I guess they're just going to do that. They're just going to have to be down double digits in every game. I thought the end of the first half was a key stretch for him, battling back there. Nelly had a couple good plays in that stretch. He hit a 3. He got a putback, but Z he blocked the dunk and then came down in transition and hit the 3. That was a big momentum play for Arkansas there. Made it a game going into the second half there. Oklahoma didn't hit a 3 in the second half. After everything they did in the first half, they didn't hit a single 3 in the second half. And you still found a way to lose the game, man. I was thinking, okay, they had 6 free throws, in that one stretch to tie it up. So in my mind, I'm like, man, Oklahoma must have got to the line 30 times or something. Not really. I mean, 16-20, Arkansas 13-16. You just look at this and you try to figure out what the difference was. Oklahoma makes 1 more shot from the field, but Arkansas makes 2 more threes. Again, like Oklahoma makes 3 more free throws, but Arkansas makes 2 more threes. So like everything was pretty balanced out. Not anything crazy with the assist to turnover. It's just they made 1 more play in a 1 possession game. And Arkansas couldn't execute down the stretch, man. Like,
I think that's kind of the big picture takeaway here is like, this is just kind of what this Arkansas team is.
Arkansas zero points in the final 2 minutes and 13 seconds.
How often do they show the graphic? And I know you have stat broadcasts where they like to keep track of the runs. How often do you see that flash up? 3 minutes and 49 seconds without a field goal. 4 minutes and 12 seconds without a shot. It's like, oh my God. It's just really hard to get away with doing that.
Yeah, no doubt. And then I'm going to continue to go back in my mind to Arkansas just killing its own momentum after getting the lead like that. By fouling and just sending them to the free throw line. You can't do that, man. It's tough stuff. Well, let's get to the chat that we never get to, even though we were 14 minutes into an hour-long damn show. Good Lord, get the hell out of here, man.
I think this actually might be the earliest we've ever gotten into it today.
Jeez Louise. Hunter Ratio says back-to-back 3-point fouls, careless turnovers down the stretch. Yeah. The back-to-back fouls were tough. Some of the and even some that probably don't go down in the book as a turnover, but like that possession right around the 1 minute mark where you're not paying attention to the shot clock, you make a pass with 2 seconds left, chuck up, that might as well be a turnover. And I think Nelly he only had 1 turnover in this game, but the one that he had was tough. It was down there. It's probably in that 2 minute, 13 second scoreless stretch where he just kind of got careless with it. Looked like he thought a guy was going one way and didn't, like whatever. And just it was just careless, that turnover. And Arkansas had some of that where guys were just dribbling off their leg or falling down on the dribble. Carter Knox had some of that. Big Z had a lot of that. But just little things like that, man, it just frustrates you. And they stick out even more in a game like this for sure. John Ham says, I actually feel better about this team than I have since pre-conference play. The loss kills our tourney chances, but I like what I'm seeing. John, I got to tell you, man, you're not wrong. Like I do not hate this statement at all, because as frustrated as I am, like I do see a vision to where this team can be competitive, win some games, and be better, just be a better version of himself by the end of the season. But we're kind of to the point where it doesn't matter, like you're saying, like in terms of tournament, unless they really do something crazy. So I think we're on the same page. I don't know how you feel, Andrew, but I agree, man.
I feel better for the most part. Like, again, we all, after a loss, I think people expect us to come in here and just be like, unacceptable, disgraceful. And it really wasn't that, like, I don't think Arkansas played well by any means. I definitely wouldn't describe this as a good performance, but it wasn't one that was like shameful. I didn't feel like they took a step back. I feel like they were a little bit better than they were in the Georgia game, frankly. I just honestly didn't expect them to face slightly stiffer competition than they faced against Georgia, but Oklahoma turned out to be that. And again, it just really comes down to you didn't have the margin for error. It's not that this particular loss is in and of itself so horrible, but when you just add it in with everything else, with the slow start you've gotten off to, and the tough games coming ahead, you really just couldn't afford to win this or to lose this one. Hell, even if you won it, you still had a lot of work to do. And so it's a gut punch is what this one is.
Yeah, that's a very good way to put it. Gut punch. Shane Harrington says this bad Oklahoma team just beat a god awful Arkansas team. Yeah, I mean,
pretty much true for the most part.
These two teams are evenly matched.
Yeah.
Oklahoma is a fringe tournament team in terms of right now they're barely in, right? Arkansas is out of that conversation right now. We'll see where Oklahoma winds up when it's all said and done. I'm going to guess that they're going to be pretty bubblicious down the stretch, and I wish that Arkansas was, but they didn't help their case at all with that tonight. So, I
mean, I think honestly, this game is a good microcosm. These teams are very much almost dead similar. Yeah. Oklahoma just has more margin for error because they didn't, they actually played pretty well in non-conference. And I guess they have pretty similar SEC record, but it's like they built just a little bit more margin for error, and Arkansas could greatly afford that.
Yeah, you're 100% right. They beat Michigan just like Arkansas did, but that wasn't their only quality win in the non-conference. They went down there and won in Atlantis, and they beat an Arizona team, which, hey, that's probably a quad one on a neutral, even though they're not as good as maybe we thought that they were going to be this year. I think they beat Louisville down there too. Whatever, they got a little bit more meat on the bone in the resume, and that's how they get away with coming in here 1-4 in the SEC and still being in the tournament conversation, while Arkansas was 1-5 and not in it. So BJ Young, he's back. Yeah. He says, you boys got to get me on the pod, but listen, I'm surprised we didn't get beat by 15 the way it was going early. I agree with all those things. And yes, we want you on the pod. Let's set that up. Let's do it next week. Hit us up in the you see the ats underneath, man. Hit us up and we'll make it happen, because we'd love to hear from you on all this.
Caught us had a great time as we're trying to scramble to find ways to keep people interested in this basketball team, and we got a week without games, so I think absolutely we should make it happen in this weekend. I agree, and ultimately, like, it's kind of crazy looking back how Arkansas got down, so down by 13. You just take away the stretch where Oklahoma hit 6 threes. I know you can't do that, but God, that's so frustrating.
Yeah, it really was. What was that kid's name? Bryson Goodine. He was like Trae Young for about 3 minutes there. I'm like, what the heck is really going on here?
And he didn't do anything the rest of the game.
Exactly. No, it felt like one of those situations where like Missouri, I think, hit 9 or 10 threes in the first half on Arkansas. I know that Illinois, I think, hit 9 or 10 threes on it. We were trending towards that. And so at least they freaking got it together, because he's right. Like, had they not tightened up a little bit there at the end of the first half, it probably would have been a blowout. Bryson says, for the love of God, or why for the love of God is TB not playing more? I don't know. Only played 17 minutes in this game. And I get it. Like, you look at the box score and it's like, okay, like 1 or 2 from the field. He had a couple rebounds. It just seems like he really is able to impact things. I think part of it was Arkansas was having a hell of a time with the matchup at the 4 with Jalen Moore. But here's the thing. He was cooking Adu Thero in this game. Yeah. Absolutely cooking him. So maybe that would have been a move that they could have made and played Brazil a little bit more. listen, Arkansas didn't play bad defensively in this game.
No.
They only gave up 65 points, but the amount of times that Big Z was switched off onto Oklahoma's lottery pick and Jeremiah Fears was a little bit alarming though, although he did a good job of not allowing the threes, kind of staying on his hip and then trying to at least challenge those shots when the kid was getting to the rim. That was crazy. But yes, I would have liked to seen Brazil play more, especially when Jonas Adu. What are we doing here? Like, why does Arkansas continue to start Adu, realize he's not going to play well, and then not start him in the second half? And did he even play at all in the second half?
Yeah, I mean, he didn't play. I don't. He's not. You're not even going to have to grade him on your report card.
No.
What did?
How many
Adu
times?
for 9 minutes.
How many times are we going to need to see this before we realize that it's not working? And here's what I'll say about Adu, because I know a lot of people are ticked off. And I get it. Like, you can't have 0 points and 1 rebound from anyone on this roster right now. You just can't, especially him, especially if you're going to continue to start him. And we can say whatever you want. If you want to call him soft, I'm not going to argue with you in this particular game. If you're mad that he's not producing, I get it. If you're pocket watching, okay. I am not making excuses for him. I am just making an observation. I watched the big men for their entire segment during warmups. He did not dunk the basketball one time while they were actively yelling at the other post players like, hey, pop the rim. Like, we're trying to get you ready to play in this game. He didn't do it. I think he's still hurt. Again, I'm not making an excuse for him, but I've been wondering during the games, like, man, he's not even getting off the floor. Now he's not playing that much. His minutes are going down. What's really going on there? I think he's still hurt. That sucks. Like, you still need a lot more from him, but that's just an observation from watching a lot of Adu in warmups today.
And it even furthers your point to the, why are you even wasting time starting him and trying to set the tone, especially when you get behind in a big hole in both of these recent games? It's like, because if he is hurt, you'd think the team would have access to that knowledge. If you can notice it there, you'd think that observation would come. And it just, if you play him and he ends up playing well, then okay, cool. Maybe I just don't, whatever. But if you're going to play him and then yank him immediately, it clearly tells you that they kind of know something's up as well. But in terms of the TB point, I actually downplayed this because people were asking about TB last game. Mm-hmm. He just was in foul trouble. Like right. When you have 4 fouls in 11 minutes, like, I don't know, it's kind of tough to play you a ton. This game, I can see the case more, but you got to be honest. Arkansas went that small ball lineup for a good bit of the second half where they only had one big on the floor. And I know everyone's going to be mad when I say this. Big Z was the right big man to be playing for most of that time. Now, I agree. You could have had some more rotation. Maybe you could have, flirted with the lineup with Trevin and Z in there. But like, Big Z was giving Arkansas a huge lift offensively. And to your point, other than when he got on bad switches, it's like he held up for the most part on defense. Although I will say, has Big Z committed more goaltends in 1 year than you've ever seen from an individual player?
It's uncanny.
Per minute,
man.
He's got his goaltend per minute rate is got to be one of the highest in college basketball history.
He's got a knack for it.
He waits until that sucker, just wait. As soon as it kisses that glass, he just smacks it. It's crazy.
He's trying so hard to time it. Just a little slow, just a little slow. Johnny Young says, with Boogie, this team wins tonight. This is probably a game where I might agree, but I don't, it's.
Here's the thing.
He also could have done the thing where he shot, 3 of 15, and so
Boogie is such a big variable.
Yeah,
that obviously he changes the game. I think his presence would have changed the game so much, and I don't mean that good or bad. I just mean it would have been such a different. Nelly's role's different. DJ's role's different. Everybody, it's almost worth like not even talking about. Like, I know it sounds stupid.
No, it doesn't sound stupid at all.
Who the hell are we? It's not like you can just, it doesn't work that way. You can just say, well, yeah, they lost by 3. You add Boogie, you get 16 points and 6 assists. It's like, well, everything changes. And so
Nelly doesn't score 18. And
right. Like maybe you give up more on the, maybe, some of those Oklahoma guards really pop off even more. They continue it. So it's like, it would have changed so much. I can hear the argument, but I don't think it's as cut and dry. And I was also saying that the other day when Arkansas won without him, that I'm like, I don't know if it's necessarily one of those things where Boogie is that big of a deal.
No, I feel you, man. I think just the big picture, like 40,000 foot view, Arkansas probably would be a little better offensively and a little worse defensively with Boogie. And then from game to game, maybe that wins you one, maybe it loses you one. But that's where they're at. But where they're missing it is the depth, because again, they ran out of gas down the stretch of this game, and we say, hey, it's an 8-man rotation. Like they've only got 8 guys. Do they though? Because Adu didn't even play in the second half. He's not giving you anything. And Billy Richmond, God love him. There's a reason why Arkansas is in this situation that they are in, and he's still only giving you 10, 11 minutes.
Have y'all gotten y'all's Billy Richmond fix? Because I mean, look, I hate when this happens, when the fan base hypes up a guy to the point where we have to kind of be the assholes and be like, relax. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But that's kind of where we were at with Richmond, where it was like, oh, got to give this guy some PG minutes. It's like, what? Why do we have to do that?
Right. Yeah, no, exactly, man. And so really, you're kind of back to where you were in early non-conference play, where you're playing. It's really like a 6.5-man rotation. Like, that you're going to play 6 a ton of minutes, and you're just kind of praying that on a given night, maybe Adu will actually play, or maybe Billy is giving you enough to where you can keep him out there for longer stretches. But between the two of those guys, they're giving you kind of what you need from both of them individually. So frustrating deal. Logan Coker, listen,
our guy.
It's brutal, man. And that's how I feel. It's a brutal one.
I have an announcement to make regarding Logan.
Okay.
And Logan, I hope you're listening now. I figured out who Logan is on the Discord yesterday.
Oh God, I could have told you that a month ago.
I know you, because when you said you communicated with him, I was like, okay. When have you been hitting up this guy? I just didn't really I know the Discord name, and I know Logan, like both guys, did not realize they were the same guy. Welcome to the internet.
Oh man. Hickory Hog, same thing on Brazil. He plays awesome for 5 minutes. Cal pulls him. He sets for 25. Make it make sense. I wish I could. Megan, I think we're kind of in agreement here. She says, I like the majority of this game. We got tired as hell. And listen, like, Arkansas is just not going to be an aesthetically pleasing basketball team to watch. A lot of people are like, this is terrible. They look awful. Like, what is this product Cal's putting on the floor?
Acting like I didn't watch Eric Musselman coach for 5 years.
Also true. This is just this has to be the method for if they're going to be competitive and stay in games. I just think they're going to have to play this way. Maybe I'm crazy. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not the expert here. I thought Cal coached a pretty damn good game. They tried some different things. They ran some different things. I saw them actually run a different baseline inbounds play at one point. I thought I saw him making a concerted effort to try to drag this team across the finish line in this game. It didn't happen. You want to pin that on him, pin it on him. If you want to pin it on the mistakes, pin it on the mistakes. If you want to give Oklahoma credit, give them credit. If you want to be pissed at the refs, be pissed at the refs. But I thought, like, the want to and the try and trying to be a little bit more versatile out there, there was an attempt at least.
Yeah. So. You just got to choose which crackhead you thought had the better technique when they were fighting in the street over that biscuit. You know,
exactly, man.
That's what we're doing here.
That's right.
I don't even think if the other crackhead would have got his left hook going, I don't know. You know, it's like, come on.
You know, Hog on it. Yeah, he says, honestly, I didn't think Cal coached a bad game. Players just couldn't finish and ran on it. And again, it's not an excuse. Like, this is Correct. A self-made issue. Like, I want everybody to understand when we're saying this. Like, I'm not saying, oh, well, if they weren't tired, they would have won. But no, like that pisses me off. I don't like that happened, but it did, and that's on them for recruiting the roster the way that they did. But
I mean, hell, dating back to the first time we saw this team lose in Fort Worth was kind of the story, you know. And at some point, you know, I mean, even then it was a little bit easier to stomach when someone tells you who they are and when they show you consistently who they are, and then they lose a key part of what they are. You just kind of get what you get.
Sure. EI says no hustle. Why are guys trying to rebound with one hand? I mean, I did think they played hard. The other night in the first half against Georgia, I did not think Arkansas played hard. I personally, I didn't see anything with the effort. I could get why that narrative could be there towards the end of that game, especially when I know the broadcast team was like, Oklahoma's getting all the 50-50 balls. I really didn't find it to be a lack of trying for Arkansas. Down the stretch of the game, I thought they were gassed. And, I also know that people are questioning effort on a particular post player that we've discussed heavily here the last few minutes. I get it. I mean, I get it.
I tell you, the coolest rebound of the game was one-handed from a Duthero. You remember that when he just kind of went up there and ripped it? That was good. Maybe everyone saw that and was like, that's why we'll try and rebound with one hand.
I did see some of that in fairness to the other part there about the one-handed rebounds. That always kind of drives me nuts there. But there was one that Nelly, I thought that he like grabbed the rebound with two hands and like tip passed it to Carter. And I was like, what the heck? And I literally think it just slipped because then he was rubbing his hands off on his shorts. Maybe he was over sweating or whatever. Razorback Hog said, what the hell was Nelly doing on the last play? I know we talked about it earlier, but people might have just jumped in or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if they really drew that up to get it to Z and then try to backdoor Nelly. That's an interesting choice. If that's what they did, it was there. I thought Z could have just turned the corner and maybe just gone and tried, maybe he gets fouled. Maybe he can finish. I don't know. The back door was there. He got held on the cut. And then he was under the basket. He really had a decision to make to whether he wanted to try to pass it out in the final few seconds or try to draw some contact. I think he was trying to draw contact. Yeah. Oklahoma did a good job of getting vertical.
In hindsight, probably should have just kept the ball moving. They had some time, and there was like 5-6 seconds left on the clock. And by the way, I really do think it kind of comes down to a minute before they had just run a very similar action on the other side of the court where Nelly ends up hitting the screen off the rescreen from Z there. And I think the defender probably was overplaying that, kind of making sure that didn't happen. And so maybe opted to go with the back door. Like
the back door was probably a read. Yeah.
And like, again, like I would love to sit here and be like, wow, just inexcusable. I was fine with it. Like I really was fine with the decision. Maybe not to just throw it up without getting actual contact at the rim. But in terms of the action, in terms of the play, I really don't have too much of a bone to pick.
Yeah, for sure. I see that that Todd here says he could have walked in and dunked. He didn't need to pass. When he turned towards the basket, that was my immediate thought. I was like, good God, he has a lane.
Yeah.
And and I don't know if he saw Nelly on the cut or if Nelly was trying to clear out. I don't know. And we had to maybe listen to what Cal says in the presser or what the guys say. But
and again, like I do agree that he probably in hindsight, definitely, had the lane there. But again, when you're coming out of the huddle and you know what you're doing, there's no way Z thought, hey, when they get the ball to me here, my defender's gonna just completely leave me and leave a wide open lane. Like I don't think that was in his brain.
Yeah, for sure. Finch says Adu deserved to be benched.
Well, he did.
Well, he was for whatever reason. I don't know what maybe they'll be asked about that afterwards. I don't know. We'll see what the explanation is, but he certainly was. Fishman says, how could Melo Sanchez be worse than Richmond? I could tell you how. Richmond at least plays defense, and he's athletic enough to play at this level. He impacts games with his hustle, his effort, his intensity. He's just not there as an offensive player, man.
How could Andrew Ellis be worse than Billy Richmond?
Well, he wouldn't be. And honestly, maybe that's something we need to address in the offseason. But I mean,
hey, the court's right down the street, man. This is where you got to see my game for the first time. They're always open, man.
Exactly. Witty, he says, good news. We should be the top team in the NIT, drinking the tea.
Cal's been there before.
Yeah, he has.
It didn't go well.
It wasn't great. It was not great for him. We appreciate the super chat. And it sucks, man. And I'm to the point now where I just hope they win enough down the stretch to where we can at least flirt with the conversation. Like I just want to have the conversation. So even if you're going into these games that like you're at Auburn and you're like, man, do they even have a chance over here? Well, at least you can hang on to but if they get it, like just do enough to be in that talk, or at least do enough to be like, well, what if they go and win 3 in a row in Nashville? Yeah. That's and honestly, it probably doesn't mean anything.
The title game. If you get to the title game, are you good? Yeah.
Damn it! How do we get here, man? Jason Evans, UK fan, I assume, says, in what world does Thero not get the ball in that situation? Yeah, and Thero didn't have a great night, honestly, but he was getting to the free throw line late. They've done a good job at times of hitting him on those curls, like getting him just going towards the basket and catching kind of in the high post. Maybe that was part of what they were trying to do on that play that just got broken up where they called the timeout. But yeah, I mean, you could have gone with a number of things. It seems to me like Cal was just kind of riding the hot hand. He had a good thing going with Z, getting in 2-man game with different guys in the backcourt. That's what they went with in this one. I might have gone with something a little closer to what they did against Georgia that wound up getting them the win, but you live and learn.
Yeah, again, and we talked about this on the show the other day where John, I think our alumni hall question of the day was who would get the last shot in this situation for Arkansas, and in the overwhelming majority was to go to Thero. So like I get that theory or like why, because he's a great player. But again, my point then was the best stuff that Adu Thero does is not as an offensive creator, just give it to him, ISO, go to work.
Exactly.
Perhaps you draw up some action for him, but actually I would say some of the worst stuff he does is whenever he's trying to create with the ball in his hands. I mean, hell, how many times have we seen him drive, try either a behind the back or a spin and just get ripped, and it's like, oh man, or
we saw it twice tonight.
Yeah, and it's just like, and again, Adu Thero, like I might name my child, his middle name might be Thero. I love that kid. He plays so hard, and I love watching him play. But I think the way you get Adu Thero involved is how they did it last game. Throw up a shot, let him go get a rebound. Like that's kind of what you're looking for. So I don't. And again, I'm not going to sit here and pretend in hindsight like I have an issue with what they drew up at the end of the game.
Yeah, for sure. They could have got it to him in a spot. Maybe that would have been better. It is what it is. Fishman says spicy Kurt. Yeah,
I have no idea what he's even referencing, but I
probably got mad about the dude pissing and moaning about the chat. I'm just, that got me. Sorry, everybody, except to him. Russell Baxter says baseballs are smaller than basketballs.
Yeah, no, this is true. This is objectively true. Baxter is the guy, I believe. I don't know what fan base he's necessarily with. I don't think he's a Kentucky fan. He was trying to get Cal to go to Indiana the other day. We know we've got a lot of different fan bases in the chat. I haven't quite pinned Russell Baxter down, but he's always in here, and we appreciate him.
Yeah, no doubt. Chris Cox, thank you. Appreciate the super chat. He says, Nelly Davis did not get fouled at the end. Good no call. I agree under the rim, disagree on the cut, whatever. Honestly, though, he did get held on that back cut, but had it have been reversed and Arkansas got called for a foul with Oklahoma back cutting, I'd have been irate. I'd have been like, you don't call that in this situation. So I get it. He says, we had back-to-back bonehead fouls that gave him 6 points. Yes, that did happen. Nelly field goal percentage is trash. Adu kid is trash. Is this John Neighbors? What's going on here? This team is bad. Adu hasn't been very good. I saw a lot of people early. We've just been in the star chats. We'll get to the rest of them, but it's people taking their shots at Nelly Davis. We can say what we want about the field goal percentage tonight. I don't know that this is the night to do the piling on with Nelly. I really don't. Had a season high in points, wasn't that efficient, was more efficient than he was in the Georgia game. We kind of talked about it, like his arc to being a more of a volume guy, and he has to be for Arkansas. It might be the Wade Taylor arc where it's not always the most efficient. But just he hit a huge three for Arkansas there late in the game, made some big free throws. How many steals did he have in this game? Like he was competing on 3 or 4.
He had some big time steals.
4 steals. Yeah. So was it an A+ game? No, of course not. Was he better than he was the other night? Absolutely was. And he led the team in scoring and did some good things and played great defense. This one is not one that I'm willing to put on Nelly. Yeah. I tweeted before the game and I was like, hey, I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm putting my mentions on the line. I think this is the Nelly Davis game. Him scoring 18 on 5 of 16. No, like I'm not taking my victory lap. Yeah. Like I don't think he was otherworldly. But it's hard for me to put this one on him. So
at the same time, and again, I agree that he didn't get fouled on the thing and is a good no call. But had he gotten the foul call, he probably makes the free throws, and then we're probably sitting here saying, "Hey, 20 points from Nelly Davis. Arkansas wins by 1." He would have had like 9 of their last however many points or whatever. Like we would have been doing the thing of, hey, they got something they can work on with Nelly, and so it's like we were that close to that happening. We were a lot closer to Nelly MVP of the game than we were to Nelly cost them the game. Though at the same time, in a game like this, he makes one of the open threes he missed. Yeah, there you go. That's the game.
Yeah. I get it. This is just kind of the way it works with seasons and fandoms and teams all over the country. So it's not exclusive to Arkansas, so I'm not piling on fans or anything like that. But I hate that Nelly's story it's already written, no matter what he does. And every time he touches the basketball, there's a groan in the stadium, and I hate that. And I was sitting in the stands tonight. I was amongst the fans instead of on press row, and the guy beside me, every time he put a shot up, brick, and didn't do it with anybody else. For a team that shot 37% from the field, and then when he make it, it's just like, And I hate that. I get it. But I wish we could just have short-term memory with some of these things and let these guys evolve. But
it wasn't that long ago where Hog fans would blindly argue that every player on their roster was the best player of all time.
This is true.
We have elevated now to where it's like, it's either a love or a hate. And
you know
in
they're
the
getting paid
NIL era,
now.
there's a lot of hate.
You don't have to have unconditional support for these guys when they're cashing a check.
I mean, fair enough.
Which, I don't necessarily disagree with. JT, my guy, by the way, good to see you. Says Big Kurt in the paint rejected, unfollowed, and pal. Yeah, whatever. Jordan Bean, we appreciate you for the super chat. He says Cal did story mode and now he's on DLC mode.
Curtis, this is a video game reference.
I was going to ask
you if you do download. It's download. Is it just downloadable content? Download something. But this is fair.
Was that a shot at Cal? What is that?
I guess story mode is typically the easier mode, like especially if you're doing there. If the difficulty on a video game, if you put it on story mode, that's like the easiest possible difficulty. And so you're basically just playing with a fixed deck, basically. And I guess that's what Cal was doing at Kentucky, and now he's on DLC and he sucks.
Drake Jones, thank you, buddy. We appreciate the super chat. Good questions here. He says, why is Billy getting the same treatment as Layden last year? Different coaches, it's worth pointing out. I know you know that. Also, did you guys see Layden Blocker get the poster dunk for DePaul today?
I did see that.
Pretty nice. Anyway, he says
No, go ahead. Sorry.
He says not playing Billy is the reason we were losing, just like Layden Blocker last year. I'm going to tell you, buddy, I don't think not playing Layden Blocker was the reason Arkansas lost last year, and not playing Billy Richmond, I don't think is the reason Arkansas is losing this year. I would like to see Billy get more minutes, though. But I understand why he's not. He competes his tail off defensively. Honestly, in the half court, he's done a better job than I thought about, like initiating offense. They kind of got him doing that PG2 thing. I'm all right with it, but it's just, it's a struggle for him offensively. Really can't finish in there. He's not a shooting threat right now. And then he's really got tunnel vision. Like he had a transition opportunity. He misses on the lob. Didn't throw it to him, tried to finish instead, and he got his shot blocked off the backboard. And then you come down a little bit later, and he's got a pick and roll opportunity, wide open lob for Z again. Instead, you try the bounce pass to the 7-2 guy, and it's a kick ball. It's just he's still raw and developing offensively. I think if I had to guess why he's not playing more, that's why, because his effort, his energy, that stuff is all contagious, man. He gets after it. And maybe they need more of that, but you got to bring a little bit more on the other end of the floor too.
Can we agree that the path to Billy Richmond being an awesome player is in an off-ball role where he develops his shot, he develops an offensive skill set where maybe he can score, maybe he can attack a closeout, maybe in, like you said, the energy, the effort, the defense is always going to be there. We like the length, we like the athleticism, we like the versatility, we like the motor. I just feel like their point guard is just not it. Like it just doesn't. That would have not. I would have come up. I would have played him at the 4 before I played him at the 1. You know what I mean? Like I really just I don't think that is the best way to get something out of his skill sets. And so I see that. I see that. And by the way, I hate to do this, and I just said this earlier when I said I hate when we're in the position where the fans gravitate to guys and they hype them up, and we have to be the bearer of bad news. Layden Blocker is averaging 7 points a game on 34% shooting this year at DePaul. Perhaps he was going to be a game changer that turned it around and dominated in the SEC at Arkansas. I have a hard time believing it, and I don't know where that theory comes from. I also don't know where the theory that Billy Richmond is being done dirty comes from either.
Yeah, if I had to guess, and I'm just and I'm not trying to speak for everybody, but my thought process on it is at times last year you question how hard Arkansas is playing, everything like that. And you have a guy like Layden Blocker, who when he comes in, he's balls to the wall. He's diving on the floor, playing physical, playing fast, playing with energy. And people wanted to see more of that, whether that yielded better basketball or not. I think it's the same thing with Billy Richmond. He's developed that reputation early of being the guy who will do the dirty work. And he's diving on the floor for loose balls and getting deflections and hustling for 50-50s and all that. And so people want to see more. When you're losing, you're thinking, all right, I got to see more of that. But again, sign me up for more minutes. Here's what I'm saying. Billy Richmond and Trevin Brazile need to be playing more minutes for this team, for this roster as constructed. And maybe you let him play through some mistakes or whatever. But early in the season, and maybe it was because of competition or whatever, but I mean, against Illinois and against Baylor, Billy did some good things offensively. He was playing within himself, was starting to get a little bit more comfortable as a basket cutter. He stopped shooting those long twos, was thriving more in transition, getting offensive rebounds and little putbacks, just little things here and there. He doesn't have to be a break you down kind of scorer. But now we're really not even seeing so much of that. So, he's going to be good though. And coming into the season, he was kind of viewed as, you have a 9-man rotation, he's your 9th guy. And but watch out for year 2, Billy Richmond. And so every minute that he plays the rest of this season is going to be huge, assuming you're able to keep him, obviously. Cats by 90 says, Curtis, do you think Cal will try to run with Kentucky next Saturday? No. I would not advise that. I don't think he's going to do that. I think his hope is that the game on Saturday at Kentucky is as ugly as this game was against Oklahoma. Like, you gotta muck it up, man. That's going to be easier said than done at Rupp. So they got a week to figure out a game plan. That's going to be a tough one.
Yeah. You're also going to face a Kentucky team that's getting their back against the wall. It's going to be a tense atmosphere there in Rupp for a lot of different reasons, but like, you're probably going to get a good effort from Kentucky.
So if Kentucky loses on the road at Tennessee I think they play Tuesday night, then this is going to be a matchup between 2 sub-500 SEC teams on Saturday, but it's going to be one of the most anticipated matchups in the country. All that tells me is John Calipari actually is the biggest story. He is bigger than both programs.
Yeah.
We're just going to be making such a big deal out of this game between 2 mid basketball teams. If that's where we're at. Kentucky's below 500 in SEC will look a hell of a lot different than Arkansas.
Yeah.
Oh man. Let's see. Witty, thank you. We appreciate everybody for tuning in, everybody for the super chats. Even the impatient ones that I yell at. He says, sucks, but woo pig suey, hog for life. My daughter dominated in the Conway meet, first place on the floor and bars and vault. One all-around champion again. Go Hogs and have Kentucky. Listen, you gotta get her in touch with Jordan Weaver. It's never too soon to begin the recruiting process, and she's building a dynasty here in Fayetteville. So,
listen, all the information I know about Witty's daughter's gymnastics career has been positive so far. She crushed it at that meet. I guess that was a couple weeks ago. Crushed it at this meet as well. Seems like she's on track to be much better than Livy Doon, who may or may not have cost LSU the meet last night.
Yeah. Hey, oh, I love it. KP Williams, he's turning the page, man. He's turning the page. How many guys is Cal taking the portal this offseason? The beauty of having a week between games is I can do an entire pod at the Palace about this for like the 3rd time, but it's, it changes a little bit every time you do it. I hope that the answer is 5 to 6. They're probably done with the high school kids at 3, maybe one more, but probably not. And then it's like, how many guys do you return? And my guess is
3.
Maybe 3. Yeah. And then my hope, and I pray for this every night, is that Cal does not want to do the 9-man team anymore. And he adds some freaking bodies. And so then, yes, I hope that answer is 5 to 6. I hope that they prioritize the top 5 3-point shooters that hit the portal, the best 5 that are out there. And listen, if they shot 42% at, I don't know, UCLA, they'll shoot 32% at Arkansas. That's just the way it is. Knock 10% off the 3-point percentage. That's what you're going to get in Fayetteville at Bud Walton Arena if you're wearing a Razorback jersey. But you got to go get those guys anyway.
Yeah.
All the shooters, man. All of them. I don't care what position. Go get all of them. And then get a Thero replacement, kind of that jack of all trades guy, and then get an entire front court that weighs more than 220 pounds soaking wet.
Is Bud Walton Arena too big of an arena? Too big of a venue? The depth perception just gets in these guys' heads when they get to Fayetteville.
Maybe they should just practice there exclusively.
Yeah.
Forget the Noah machine over in the gym with the walls right behind the baskets and just shooting Bud Walton nonstop. I don't
Bust that facility open.
I'm so tired of seeing Arkansas teams that can't shoot. It's like 6 years in a row. This is crazy. And it wasn't even bad. 9 of 27, 33%, but like, goodness gracious, man.
That was what I begged for after they went 3 for 22 against Georgia. I was like, just make a third of your threes. I say 7 of 21, which is what Oklahoma went for tonight, but
it's uncanny. I don't know how they do it. Aiden Jimenez.
Okay.
Double hogging.
So, okay. I started this one for a reason.
Okay.
Again, we might be getting duped here. Who knows? But Aiden Jimenez, if that's the Aiden Jimenez I think it is, and I can't imagine there's a burner account for a reliever for the Razorbacks. But
it'd be wild if there was.
This is the Oregon State transfer, Aiden Jimenez, who's about to have a huge year for the Diamond Hogs. Pitched yesterday in a scrimmage.
And you
looked
talked
pretty
about
damn
it.
good. Looked pretty damn good. He's way ahead of schedule in his recovery. Love to see him tapped in on the pod, even though it was not a great game for the Arkansas Razorbacks. But love to see this.
Hell yeah. Boo pig. Drake Jones, he ran it back. He said he fudged his chat, was trying to ask why fans were saying that with the blocker and Billy Richmond thing.
So when he said blocker treatment, that's what he meant.
Gotcha.
I thought he meant the blocker treatment as in why is he not I was like, I don't know. That is the blocker.
Sure.
Okay, that is fair on the blocker treatment where it's like everyone views him as the answer and it's like, okay.
And even if you were asking that legitimately, like I get why. Like I just and I think the explanation we gave is like why we understand why people would feel that way. Doesn't mean we necessarily agree, but who the hell are we besides a couple guys just sitting here talking about the game?
Just dudes.
So we're just guys being dudes. We didn't get producer John's not here. So we didn't get any press conference clips. So we'll stick around for just a few final minutes and run through a handful more chats and then we'll get out of here. Let's see. I'll tell you, let's get into some of the mean ones too. Like this. Joey Baltz. He says absolute dog shit. Cannot believe Davis is sitting on a rumored $1 million after a season high scoring night and 4 steals. Can't handle a damn basketball with 1 turnover. This team is weak mentally and physically.
Yeah.
Sick of this trash. Bring on baseball. I hope.
Joey Baltz.
Do people get this mad about baseball? Like if they lose a midweek, do people freak out about that?
Oh, people hate. Dude, I remember there was a guy in 2019. Arkansas lost to Little Rock. It was the first time they ever played Little Rock, and they lost like 19-8 in a midweek. And this guy was like, honestly, we got to ask questions about DVH, man. Like this. We cannot be losing to Little Rock on Tuesday night. I was like, well, yeah.
Elmer Fuddpucker, pathetic. They're not even going to make the tourney. Calipari wasn't so unlikable. You'd almost feel sorry for him.
I would argue the exact opposite. I would say if Cal weren't so likable, we probably would be a lot meaner than we are about this whole situation.
Yeah. I mean, it's pathetic is one word for it. It's super, super disappointing. I mean, it's incredibly disappointing. Not going to disagree with that. And yeah, like barring a freaking miracle, you're right. Like they're not going to make the tournament this year. That's not okay. It's not acceptable. But what are you going to do? You know what I mean? Like you're not going to fire him. You're not going to blow the thing up. Chalk it up to some mistakes made in putting the roster together, some tough luck, and see what you can do next year. I mean, it's what you got to do. And then you can choose whether or not you want to be excited about it. And if they figure it out, great. And then everybody can be happy. And if not, then they can just blame it on the guy who gets paid the most NIL money. Razorback Zach says Jonas Adu sucks. John L. Davis sucks. We missed on our top portal guys. It's over. It's over.
I do like that tonight was the official night where Adu became the top guy to point at instead of Nelly. And again, it's not we're not saying Nelly was like great tonight, that you shouldn't be upset about the way his season has gone, but it is funny how it's now officially become Adu. Right.
And Razorback Zach, I'm not even making fun of you. We're pulling up the mean chats. And honestly, most of your point is right though. Like a huge portion of this being an incredibly disappointing season is that they did miss on the top portal guys. I mean, because neither one of them have been anywhere near what you expected or what you had to have for this experiment to work. And there are other things that have gone wrong, man, but that's a big one. And what sucks about it too is like people are still going to be super excited about portal season. And I'm looking forward to covering it and seeing what they come up with, but we're just going to have that increased percentage of people that no matter who they bring in, it's like bust. Yeah. Can't wait to see, Adu 2.0. Like we're going to get all of that. And I get it, but I hate it at the same time. You know what I mean?
I 100% get it. And look, it's 100% valid. Like not the hating on everything, but the notion. I mean, hell, if Arkansas had a 13-8 big that was an all defense guy and an all SEC guy, I'd feel completely differently about this team than I did right now. If they had a high volume, like big time shooter, scorer, off ball, shot maker, I'd feel completely different about this team. And it kind of is that simple. And like we've said all year, you just couldn't afford to miss when you had a roster of 9 guys. And Arkansas basically shot about 50% on getting competent pieces.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just true. It's just true. Let's see. Got a couple more cool ones. I think I've seen this like 10 times from maybe the same person. I'm not sure. Cal 1 tournament win in 5 seasons. I would settle for a tournament win. I would just settle for going to the tournament this year at this point. But yes, we are aware of the recent history here with Cal for sure.
I actually missed that completely. I had no idea, Curtis. I'd never that had not dawned on me.
Yeah. Oh man. Finch has called it a night and we're getting ready to. He says, watching that game drain me. I'm off to bed. See y'all later. Have a good night.
11 o'clock,
Yeah. We're glad you were here. And it's crazy how this stuff happens from like the difference in one play can make. I remember saying, well, we were doing the watch party for the LSU game, and I was like, the difference between Arkansas winning this game and losing this game by 1 point on my mood is going to be so drastic.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was the same thing with this one. It went from, Nelly gets fouled and goes and makes a couple free throws to me being, jacked and not able to sleep tonight to them losing that game the way they did. Now I'm just like, yeah, I'm just kind of going to lay it down, man.
Yeah. Now we got to get creative with this content in the next couple of weeks. These Inside Arkansas live titles are about to put folks in a blender.
Yeah. Yeah. That is an absolute fact. Who's the guy that's always in on anytime we do that? Is it Heartbroken Hog? Anytime there's like a title and it's just like, whew, you guys are really reaching. And we're like, yeah, yeah, we are. Yeah. Oh man. All right. Yeah. People are talking about the Noah situation.
Yeah.
Oh, he super chatted this veteran biker. He really wanted us to say it. Yes.
It's okay. Look, obviously we get the point. Cal's not a good coach, all this. Do Kentucky fans really think that nobody was aware? Y'all are the most covered program in the country. You think we weren't aware of what was going on? We all were there. We all saw it. We knew what we were signing up for. We're just not even getting that. We're not even getting the good regular season, bad tournament. I'd love for that.
Sign me up for it, man. Carmaduke was on one in the in-game chat on this thread. I was watching it. He says losing to a Porter Moser team is unacceptable. Well, Arkansas seems to have a hell of an easy time accepting it because they do it every year. Yeah. And it irritates me because I thought man, just get out of the freaking BOK Center. You don't have to worry about Eric Musselman's ejection and the subsequent free throws in possession that cost you afterwards. It's also late January, which is usually after the time when Oklahoma stops convincing itself that it's a good basketball team. Nope, none of it mattered, not even Bud Walton Arena. And so I'm with you. It's very frustrating, but it keeps happening. So we might not accept it, but
it's we're getting used to accepting it. Hell, maybe the best Arkansas team in 20 years got absolutely pieced up by Porter Moser. So, it is what it is.
He was big mad the entire game. I didn't realize he coached so fire up as he does.
He's an intense guy, man.
He got pissed. Carter Knox hit his second 3 and then shushed the bench. Porter Moser ran all the way to the scorer's table mad about it. I thought it was great.
Well,
good for
Carter Knox up real quick.
This is true. Yeah, that was it for his night. I think he made a layup after that. But.
Yeah. Dude, when he made that layup, Curtis, I really was like, Carter Knox, man, he's here. He's here, man.
Yeah.
Anthony Edwards has showed up.
Gosh, man. All right. Any final thoughts?
I just wanted to funny comment here that said back to the blue blazer. I was going to ask you about this no matter what. So Cal wore a dark red, kind of like a maroon type of color. Mm-hmm. How many different shades of red do you think he has? Were we about to find out?
I think we were on that track. Yeah. He might just need to go beige. Just as bland as possible for the rest of the year. Just represents the brand of basketball they play. Exactly.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Oh man. Kim just LOL'd. I didn't mean to hit that one, but I did, and that just kind of sums it up anyway.
Yeah.
Thank you guys seriously for tuning in, tapping in with us. We got to as many chats as we could. I hope that's okay. But no, I was really planning on talking about a win tonight. I was completely unprepared to talk about a loss. I really didn't think it was going to happen. It did, and that's been the story of the season so far with the Razorbacks. But thank you for everybody for tuning in. Getting it off your chest, even if you're mad. We get it. We're mad too. It's no fun when the Razorbacks lose. But please continue to get it off your chest. We do appreciate the support, even in these dire times that we're living in right now. Arkansas now has a week off, so we'll see what the hell we talk about in the Pod at the Palace all week. A lot of it's going to come from Lexington, because we're going to be there Wednesday through the game Saturday until Sunday, and we'll see what they got going on over there. And that's next time Arkansas plays, the game that we've been waiting for all season. I don't know how excited y'all are about it, but it's freaking happening. We're going to be there. So that's that. It's for Andrew Ellis, been Curtis Wilkerson, Inside Arkansas, Pod at the Palace. Get some sleep. See y'all in the morning. Appreciate it.